There's a letter signed in Rome in June. It says no, and it says it in words that leave no room for error. 2 months later, the man to whom the letter was addressed spoke publicly. He spoke at length and calmly. He didn't protest or announce any appeal. He did something no one expected. He said thank you, and he added a sentence that many people, both inside and outside Germany, are rereading these days. There's only one point of contention, and it's very simple to state: who can ascend the pulpit to preach during Mass? For the Catholic Church, the answer has been the same for a very long time, and it's written into law. The homily is the responsibility of the priest or deacon. The German bishops have officially requested that it be changed, not generally and not for everyone, but for cases defined as exceptional. The request arrived on the Vatican's desks on March 30th of this year, and it didn't arrive by regular mail. The president of the German Bishops' Conference personally brought it to Rome. On the same occasion, he also delivered a second document to Rome. These were the statutes of the future German Synodal Conference, the permanent body born from the synodal path. They are still sitting on the dicastery's tables. The text of the request is precise and worth reading. He asked for an indult, that is, a dispensation granted by the Apostolic See beyond the common law. The exact formula is this: to allow, in exceptional circumstances, a duly appointed lay faithful to preach in place of the homily during the celebration of the Eucharist. The request arose from one of the decisions approved by the German synodal path. It was therefore not the personal initiative of an isolated bishop. The man who delivered it by hand is called Heiner Wilmer and is 65 years old. He has presided over the German Bishops' Conference since February of this year. In March, Leo XV also entrusted him with the pastoral care of Münster. Münster is no ordinary diocese. It has the largest Catholic population in all of Germany. Rome's response is dated June 17th, less than 3 months after it was delivered. It is a letter from the Dicastery for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. It's addressed to him personally in his capacity as president of the Episcopal Conference. And he says, no, without extenuating circumstances. The document doesn't just deny, it explains, and it does so in 4 steps that are worth considering one by one. The first step weighs more heavily than all the others combined. It concerns the very nature of the rule that was sought to be derogated. Rome writes that the reservation of the homily to the priest or deacon is not a merely disciplinary norm, and he immediately adds where that reservation comes from. It derives from the very nature of the liturgy. The difference decides everything else. A disciplinary rule can be dispensed with, but one arising from the nature of the matter cannot. This is precisely why the pardon could not be granted under any circumstances, not because Rome lacked pastoral goodwill. The second point concerns what the homily really is within the Mass. It is not a speech, not a reflection, not even a testimony. Rome recalls that the homily is an integral part of the liturgy of the Word, and that it is intrinsically linked to the proclamation of the gospel itself. It is the exercise of the task of teaching, a task entrusted to ordained ministers through the sacrament of holy orders. The third passage contains the most concise sentence in the entire Roman document. It deserves to be listened to twice because it holds everything together in one line. The proclamation of the word in the liturgical celebration is inseparable from the mission received sacramentally, and he continues, that announcement is also inseparable from the unity that binds word and sacrament together within the Eucharistic celebration. Almost no news outlets picked up the fourth pass, and it's by far the most operational of the 4. Rome expressly excludes the possibility of introducing into the Mass an intervention equivalent to the homily by calling it by another name. It closes the shortcut before anyone tries to take it. Calling it reflection, sharing, or testimony makes no difference. The document, however, doesn't end with a simple prohibition. It also recalls, in detail, what remains open to the laity. The Church already entrusts many forms of preaching and proclaiming the word to the laity today, but under one specific and non-negotiable condition. They must take place outside of the homily and the celebration of the Eucharist. Everything else, Rome says, is already largely permitted. Finally, the letter asks bishops to ensure the ongoing formation of ordained ministers. Rome's reasoning is that the problem lies not in who speaks, but in how one preaches. Vatican News published the response on June 23rd. The news spread throughout the Catholic world within hours. In Germany, the reaction came within 24 hours. And it wasn't at all what one would expect after a written no. The Central Committee of German Catholics, the country's large lay body, demands that the matter not be considered closed, and he asks the bishops to return to negotiations with Rome on a point that Rome has just declared non-disciplinary. On August 15th, Bishop Peter Kohlgraf of Mainz spoke. He openly admitted that lay people could not preach during Mass. But then he adds one thing, and it's what's been making the rounds on Catholic websites. He says he won't penalize anyone who continues to do so. We arrive at August 21st. The president of the German bishops gives a long interview to a diocesan weekly. They specifically ask him what will now happen to the pastoral workers of his diocese, following the refusal from Rome. He doesn't answer immediately and starts with an observation. He says he's still new to Münster, but he knows exactly how things are. I know that in our diocese, many baptized men and women have been dealing with this issue for many years, and a culture has developed. Then comes the sentence that everyone is rereading these days. It refers to a practice that Rome had banned 2 months earlier. I have great respect for this tradition that has grown, and I feel profound gratitude. In the same interview, he also says he respects Rome's response. This should be quoted in full because he actually said it, but he doesn't announce any disciplinary measures, not even in principle, and nowhere does he say that the practice in Münster will change. On the contrary, I firmly believe that the excellent pastoral workers of our diocese will find a good way to adequately address the circumstances. They then ask him about women, sexual morality, celibacy, and lay participation in government. The answer is in 5 words. The issues are not closed. And he adds, without beating around the bush, that work continues on them. It must be said honestly that behind the German position lies a real and measurable problem. It's not just an ideological flag. In many regions of Germany, parishes have been without a resident priest for years. Pastoral workers are the ones who hold everything else together. Those who support the German bishops object that a community effectively led by lay people cannot then fall silent precisely at the moment of Mass. Those who support Rome respond that the problem exists and is serious, but that the solution cannot be to interfere with the liturgy. And he points out that the Roman document does indeed point to a path, explicitly. Preaching, yes, and a lot, but outside of Mass. From here on, you can follow the story with a calendar in hand, and you can verify it for yourself without taking anyone's word for it. In the autumn, the president of the German bishops will be in Linz with theologians and European representatives to discuss these same issues. In October, he will be in Rome. For 8 full days, he will be joined by all the presidents of the world's episcopal conferences, convened by the Pope, and the statutes of the German Synodal Conference, delivered in March and still undecided, remain on the dicastery's table. If Münster's practice has changed after October, we'll have an answer. If it has remained the same, we'll have another. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.